So Joe, I'm seeing we're live. Thumbs up. Welcome to the OpenJS Foundation Standards Working Group. Today is 2/2/22, right?
And it's a Tuesday.
And it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
We're talking about issue. And we have our agenda up on the Standards Working Group repo, and we just started to jump into issue, is it 168? Initially, it started out as what can we do? We were looking at how we can participate in OpenJS world. I think it's broadened beyond that, just a few key points. And the first point that we were starting to brainstorm before we forgot to stream was a recognition and rewards award program. Quickly summarize, we thought it would be super cool for us to join with the CPC in a way that's similar, that the CNCF does their chop wood carry water, that we'll have our own recognition program for folks who are our unsung heroes. And we're talking about how we can do that at OpenJS in the standards group. Jordan, for TC39, you had talked about that the champions often already get rewarded, but there's other folks who don't. I'll try to quickly summarize in notes. Mike, you talked about the same thing in W3C, and how in the open, that book during book club, we talked about how maintainers often don't get recognized and rewarded. And then we also talked about, then there's some folks who just aren't rewarded for even just playing a kind of a constructive sort of feedback loop to some proposals that are being considered. Fair summary. Okay. So where were we next? Oh, the categories perhaps, and the process to get there. Anyone wants to help with notes and fill in their spots, I'm going to talk about W3C. TC39. I'm writing some of the categories. For example, Jordan, TC39, you talk about some of the ways that people make contributions who are not.
Yeah.
Update bugs, implementations, early mover on browsers. Share my screen. Okay. So W3C also it's probably the same categories, right, Mike, for W3C and TC39 and some of those.
I think so.
Except for, and maybe organizing, community organizers too.
Michael, what was the book you were talking about?
In the open, here it is right here.
In the open.
Not
Working in the
yet,
open.
right, at GitHub? Mhm.
Oh, working in public?
Working in
in
progress.
public.
Yeah, sorry.
That's right. And channeling Emily and some of his work with Unicode, maybe perhaps similar, probably similar to projects. So y'all can be as generous as we see fit and think about some types of awards we'd like to frame. Mhm.
Yeah, I added a line about blog posts and stuff at the bottom. I think that there's a lot of folks who are creating helpful educational and introductory content for the ecosystem that are not doing it solely to sell things. And that is, I think, a group that should be rewarded. The ones that are doing it to sell things, they sell things. So that's their reward, right? So I don't think we have to optimize for them.
Mhm.
The word onboarding came to mind too, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, people that expand the community one way or another.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Hemant and his wonderful.
Sorry, I got held up in another meeting.
Hi. We're talking about a recognition and rewards program, creating our own, and we're talking about the different types of activities that these unsung heroes do to make an impact. And we're talking about the need to do that just so, one, we can reframe their achievements for maybe their bosses in the industry and the rest of their coworkers who may not understand what they're doing and why. And in doing so and creating these awards that we would hand out at OpenJS World and market through all of our channels, it would give people something substantial to mark that accomplishment.
Absolutely. And I completely resonate with the last point there on blog post conference talks. Like we also have the TC39ers educator group where we have like numerous individuals contributing at different levels and not really monetizing it and just being in the shadows and contributing for the
Mhm.
standards and links.
Mhm. So are we seeing some buckets and themes that we would want to create awards around? Would you do it by, a standards body, or would you do it kind of cross or one in each?
If there's, I think it sort of depends on
The process.
what the candidates are.
Mhm.
So like, we may want to quietly pick out some categories and then quietly collect candidates for them. And then based on those candidates, we either give an award for the category or we give an award for the category like in an ecosystem or whatever, whether that's like JavaScript or W3C or Node or, you know, whatever makes sense. Yeah, because like if we do it by category and then we have a bunch of, or if we do it by like ecosystem, we have a bunch of empty ecosystems. Like if one year we reward Node and next year we like.
Well, I think we'll still have this similar conversation with the CPC, right, on the projects. I'm just thinking standards.
Yeah, okay. So then, but it's sort of the same thing as like the, I just want to make, I'm not yet convinced, like, or I'm not yet certain how, like whether we'll have large piles of candidates for all of the possible category and standard ecosystem combinations. If we do, awesome. Like we should reward each of those. But like if we don't, we want to be more flexible.
Yeah, I agree. I think finding people that are doing the kind of things we're talking about and then inventing a category is probably better than predefining categories and trying to find people that fit in them.
Yeah.
Because it's the behavior and the attitudes we're
Mhm.
talking about, not the,
It's the whole
and
package.
the ideal person would be the one who bridges categories and organizations and just does the stuff that needs to be done.
I like it.
Yeah. We could also like pay attention to different like metrics of like, is someone a newcomer? Let's maybe give the give an award that highlights that the thing they're doing is, you know, that they're like a new contributor. And then like separately, if someone is like doing work over a long period of time, they're like persistent or whatever, then like, you know, we could look at that type of metric. Or, you know, like Michael was saying, bridging different categories, right? We can look at someone who's doing, like if someone's writing test 262 tests, but like little ones for every proposal, like that's valuable, even if the individual chunk of work isn't moving the needle much. The fact they're doing that consistently and persistently is really valuable. And that's something we'd want to highlight. You know, things like that.
Even some of the spec editors and the implementers don't really get noticed, right? But when they do the large amount of work in you know, kind of implementing the proposals and making sure it's according to the spec and all of those, and but they're just like in the background and they're not really noticed at times.
In addition to identifying people with multiple traits in addition to specific buckets, because I do like the first time contributors. My grammar is not on par with my thinking typing. So we should probably, if we start seeking nominations, think about some attributes. I think you talk about first-time contributors. You're talking about educators, right? People who educate and onboard. Talk about folks who organize. Who evangelize.
Well, and there's a lot about the so like evangelizing and educating and stuff is something you usually do like once the feature exists and is designed.
Yeah.
But before that, there's a lot of little work that's done towards the design that's like, you know, readme stuff that's you know, respectfully debating, you know, and offering pushback. There's, you know, building implementations. And so there's sort of like the design phase, the implementation phase, and the education phase. And in any of these, someone might be a new contributor or a long time, consistent contributor, or a might bridge their contributions across multiple things in the same area, and all of those are worth noting.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the education might happen during the implementation or the design phase too.
Yeah, it's I think as soon as someone gets involved, it's very likely that their involvement will spill over into additional areas. And that's also something I think we want to incentivize.
Mm-hmm. So help me wordsmith these little buckets. Mm-hmm. And then if you just want to also just recognize just overall humans, it's like the most inspirational kind of award kind of person. Is that what you kind of think about? Think about sports.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it will be easier to define these categories when we do have a list of a concrete list of people and tasks
Mm-hmm.
and achievements and stuff. Because it'll be at that point, I think it'll be easier to see when someone's being excluded and why. And, yeah, because I think we want to design categories such that all the work that we want to see happen is somehow considered.
Yeah.
Right. Even it doesn't mean everyone has to win something, but
Mm-hmm.
but we should make sure that everyone's work is eligible for something. And the best way to inform that is to first list all the work.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, again, execution, how do we execute this? And I'm thinking about it also with the CPC, we'll do two separate write-ups because the CPC will cascade through the projects. Here we would cascade through the reps of our standards orgs and the participants here is what we're thinking. Have a little preamble, have some nominations. What do you think? How would you do it, Jordan, for TC39, just being a rep?
I mean,
About that from a standards working group.
wait, how would I do?
How would you curate those names or seek the nominations?
I would probably go look at I'd probably go ask the champions of the various proposals that have advanced or been presented recently and just be like, hey, is there anyone who's not a champion, who's done work on the proposal that you find valuable to move it forward? And, sort of crowdsource it from that. And I imagine they all have a few names in mind. And if they dig a little bit, could come up with some others. I don't know, something like that.
Mike, how
Makes
would you?
sense to me.
That you
Ask
could,
the people who led the proposals to identify who were the helpers,
Yeah. And then kind of for a feature that's already shipping, you can sort of do some simple Twitter searches and find people talking about it, or, and if there's some great conversation, that's visible to a lot of people on Twitter, that alone is useful. Or if it links to blog posts or something, or, if it's the 1 in a million Reddit post that is like worth reading, like, and it has a bunch of useful back and forth, like that type of thing could be gathered, but that's sort of later on in the process.
Also, maybe if we can programmatically figure out from the commits in the proposal repo to see who are the non-champions and the champions, and kind of it can give us a holistic view of those individuals who weren't champions and contributed.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because there's also like there are people whose only participation in a proposal is showing up and arguing something, or like asking, or presenting an alternative viewpoint or whatever, and among those, it doesn't take very long to filter out the ones who are less respectful, and like the rest are very often that exercise is useful for the proposal, even if it results in no changes. And it'd be nice to reward those people, right?
Yep, absolutely. And some of them would just create an issue which can change the specification altogether. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It sounds like I have some volunteers to do that. And then, I can help by writing it up. So we have TC39, we have W3C represented. We could ask Emily for support from his neck of the woods. Anything else? Any ideas if you want to be creative for 5 minutes and talk about a brand?
sorry, I probably have missed this in the previous meetings. What happened to the plans where we were planning to create a site with all the resources, right?
Yeah, the graphics folks at the Linux Foundation did not get to it, so we're creating a page, and right now we just have that repo with all of the links. So I've taken the action item to write the page, and then Brian Warner we'll put it up on that page until we get a designer on board. So.
Okay, cool.
I'm missing Jory a lot. She's back mid-March.
She delivered a baby, boy or a girl?
She had a baby boy on January 1st. So
Oh,
Ward
nice.
Oliver, he was 9 pounds. So the guy, and she was late, so she had to go into the doctor and say, now. So she got to schedule that New Year's baby, which is nice.
Nice.
Yeah, and she's splitting her maternity leave. So she's doing half of it now and then half after OpenJS World. So unless she changes her mind, which she can do, because last time I talked to her, she was not having a lot of sleep. So she'll do what's right for her family. Let's see. So any ideas on a brand, or want to take that to a CPC and have a broader branding discussion?
I'm thinking along various lines, and the phrase that just popped in my head is "no stone unturned." I don't know if there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Something like I'm like a useful branding, I think, would be something that conveys that we are acknowledging, catching, covering, whatever, the things that are often forgotten or missed or fall through the cracks. And so something that evokes that would be pretty useful, I think.
Mm-hmm. This is where I wish Toby was here, because he keeps us honest on, I was laughing about a neck in the woods. You remember? He didn't know what, he was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And this is an idiom. So yeah, maybe that's not the best
Yeah.
It's totally new for me too.
Oh, neck in the woods?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
I've
talking.
never actually heard that one either.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's regional idioms as well. So I was thinking something with JavaScript Landia, if there's something playing off of that Trailblazer idea. Road builder, path finder, something. You're gonna have to bring your creative hats to our next CPC meeting and carry on if you need to think about it, if you need to sleep on it. Yeah, again, CNCF, chop wood, carry water. It's the doers, right? The doers. Not talker.
But like, I would want to avoid a connotation that you have to like produce something to be rewarded.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
there's like open source projects often over index on like code as the valuable contributions. And so like I would think we want to give off a connotation of like, you know, the just all, you know, all the aspects of work, even if you're not directly producing content.
Agreed.
Unlike the GitHub star way.
Mm-hmm. That's so simple, right? You have
Oh
heroes.
yeah, GitHub stars are simple enough that no one is actually sure what they mean either. So like there's a trade-off there.
We can have heroes. We can have a hero. We can have a like the unsung hero.
Yeah, and that's I mean unsung hero has the right connotation, but also like
Overdone.
hero even sounds a little weird because we don't need to glorify everyone. Like everyone doesn't have to be wearing a cape, right? Like it's
Yeah.
you know
Connectors, maybe?
The glue, the friends.
Yeah, gluers, joiners.
Super glue. You get the super glue award.
I would say
Duct tape.
enablers, but that has a bad connotation.
I don't know what would be the English equivalent, but if I can vaguely translate from my native language, it would be more like a fruit behind the leaf. It's more like a fruit. It's kind of hidden.
Behind the leaf, behind the leaves.
Yeah, fruit behind the leaf. It's not visible, but it's a fruit and it's doing its job and it's successful, but it's not in the limelight.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah, that's like power behind the throne, but without all the monarchy baked into it. I like that.
Yeah. These are great ideas. Love it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The newcomer award could be more like the caterpillar. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we can keep it that gardening theme, right? I spelled, I didn't spell caterpillar right. No.
The weeders, yeah.
No, the
Cultivate.
Cultivators, yeah. Cultivators.
I like that too.
The ladybug.
I wonder, is there like a slightly more generic term for like all the pieces of an ecosystem? right? In nature, there's like an ecosystem, there's like predators and preys, and you talk about apex predators and the food chain and all that stuff, and that's like a hierarchy. But there's, if you avoid talking about it as a hierarchy or a circle, then like all these little pieces are all kind of contributing in their own ways, right? Like the, you know, the
Unfortunately,
pollinators
in nature,
Go ahead.
the things that glue organisms together are fungi.
Right.
So the fungus award is probably not going to sound real
Yeah. Fungus are definitely undersung heroes. Huh.
It could also be
Fertilized.
types of ants. Ants kind of have has a good community spirit, and they kind of work hard and work in groups and all of those.
My friend had 2 dogs, Fungus and Algae, and goes by Al and Gus. They're dogs. The Gus and Al awards. Gardener. That's another word for a gardener, someone who tills and soils, farmers. Mhm.
Caretakers.
Mhm.
Yep.
I like that. Mhm. Mike, it sounds like you're noodling on something funny. What do you have for me? You're off cam. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry, I said janitors, but
Oh,
that's not exactly a desirable thing to label somebody.
no.
But caretakers, caretakers does have kind of that.
I like you.
Greenskeepers.
Mhm.
We had groundskeeper, yeah.
Green or grounds. I like that too.
I used to run this project, a tiny project called NPM Janitor, which used to go through all the node modules and highlight if there's something broken.
Cool. And we could take these to, I think they would work in the CPC as well. Do you think? For for open source, yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. I'm gonna delete Ladybug just because it's a lady. There we go. All right, Hemant. Okay, we have a few more minutes left. One of the other points that we had for how we show up at OpenJS World, and I should probably split these issues for sure, is to do some education. And Hemant wasn't here. We're like, wouldn't it be great if Hemant did an education piece using some of his great content, and you have some curriculum around that. Jordan said he'd help you, and you said yes. So what I think you all, and we were thinking an hour, is that probably enough? We need to find a time that works for both of you, and I can just put you on the schedule.
Yeah, 1 hour fine for me. I'm not sure how Jordan's schedule looks like. We also had the TC39 meeting coming up.
Yeah, it'll have to be around TC39, but other than that, I think we can make it work. As far as the timing, right? Like it depends on what we're talking about. If the crowd is interested, we could talk for 3 hours, and if they're not interested, we might be done in 20 minutes. But an hour seems like a good place to bet.
You're done at 3 with TC39?
I believe that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you could do your 10 to 3. You could do a morning session, I believe, on no, it wouldn't be day 2. We have keynotes both mornings. So it would have to be Tuesday or Wednesday from that 3 to 5 p.m. block.
That's better than mornings for me anyway, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Y'all let me know. And if you want, once, we have some time before we start publishing the schedule. So you have a little bit of time to think about it. but I will block off a spot for you. Cool.
That's PST, right?
Nope, Austin time, Central time. Cool. And for anyone who's watching, CFP deadline is Friday because of this Friday, the 25th. We do leave a little grace period over the weekend because time zones around the world are so wacky. So the program committee will have a spreadsheet to review on Monday.
Cool.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Glad you all showed up on our, what do you call this day?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I will catch you all later. Thanks again.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye, gang. Adios.